I got in my house to boy. I started finally bread. No tell me to make a calm down.
Yo, let me teach you how to make your vocal crispy while retaining that body. So many people have actually asked me, how do you make your vocal crispy? I see many people making a lot of mistakes concerning this, so I'm going to teach you pretty much how to do it with just few simple steps, and I bet you after this video you are going to thank me. Let's dive into it quickly.
I've been sober. I like EP like say I don't carry over. But the last time I checked, said I don't fall.
No, let's just dive into it quickly. No, what I am going to be teaching here is going to be a kind of against the odd, like what people have been teaching you, but it will give you such a very, very tremendous result. So now we have this vocal.
I got in my house to boy. I started finding bread. No tell me to make a calm down.
So you'll be so shocked the difference between the mixed and this version right now. This is a expander. Let's noise the preset there. Then yes, the major thing here that is, yeah, the second on the list is my XSL. Now let's see what we are doing here. You can see what we've done. Let's just.
I got in my house to boy. I started finding bread.
You see, without touching anything on the vocal first, without touching anything, the first EQ you should pull out. Don't try to, what we are trying to achieve here is, you know, the vocal is already very rich. You have your vocal recorded. Now, what we are trying to do is, we want to, without cutting any part you feel, and this frequency is wrong, without even, knowing if it is your speaker that is a problem, if it's your room that's a problem, or if there is no issue at all. So what we're trying to do is, let's bring out those places to complement the vocal. Let us not just start to find issues. Leave the issues with it, and if there is none, let's start to boost areas that will complement what we already have. That's how to make a vocal crispy in a very professional way. You don't just start to cut and cut and cut thinking you're going to, end up with harsh vocal. Now, we just boost. You can see how much I'm boosting. I'm boosting 9 dB plus 9 dB, which is against what you've been hearing. Now, let's go. And look at my EQ here, 14. The reason why I'm putting it on 14, it's like a shave. It's like a shave, and putting it on 14 will cut from 10. So I'm boosting a bit of that high end and the air of the vocal. Now, the next thing I did was, so the vocal is very bright now, and at the same time is fat because I didn't touch any of the body at all. It is just that high end and versus the body of the vocal. So the next thing I did now was to say, okay, because of the context of the vocal now, I had to reduce this area, which is between 3 to 4K. I reduced it about 2 dB. Then I touched this to widen the curve, the bell shape. Then the next thing I did was to look for another Monday area. Now, I have already fixed the issue of balance. The high end is okay with the body. Now, let's fix the issues with the high end. If you start fixing issues and later boost the high end, you might run into harshness. So now we already boost the low end and discover that almost 80% of the issues of the vocal has disappeared. What we just want to do is just to, compensate for that 20%. So, and this one, around 800, we cut about 1 dB, which is very insignificant. Again, boosting, increasing the bell shape to a very, broader shape. Then you can see I'm cutting 70 to 80, between 70 to 80 dB from the filter, like a, high pass filter. So, yep. And this one, I created a bell shape which is automatic. Then about 500 to 400. I'm cutting very little, nothing more, self, very little, about 2 to 1 dB there. And we have this. You see? So now the next thing we did again, we brought in our guy here, which is CLA Mix Hub. So what did we do?
I got him out to poet. I started finding it bad.
So you don't start looking for problem before you boost. I like the brightness. Now with the brightness, let me start to pick out where I feel is wrong on the vocal and where I feel is right again if you want to boost areas on the vocal. So as you can see, this area I'm cutting around 2K. Why? Because that 2K is kind of, if you boost that 2K, you'll be hearing some resonance, that whistle, some kind of whisper in that area. So I'm cutting about 1 dB, minus 1 dB there, and again 600 area, I'm boosting 1 dB in that area. So yeah, again I filter add 70 there. So that's pretty much it with this. Then
I got him out to poet.
Nothing really much is going on with the compressor here. So the next thing I did, this is the most important. See, drop everything you are doing. So just pay attention. Drop everything you are doing. Pay attention. Now, this is where it gets very, very tricky. Or should I say entertaining? Now, let's see what we did here with the first compressor ever.
I got him out to poet.
Now, I'm compressing between 4 to 8 dB. Then the drive, which is more like a saturator, about this area, I'm not teaching how to use it anyhow you want. Yep. Then this is the area you need to pay attention to. Not even my attack, not even my release. You can use any type of release, but this is my recommendation from 0 to about maybe 50, thereabout. From here, anywhere here, you can use it depending on what you want on the vocal. And my character, which is, I can even turn it off, doesn't really matter, I can turn it off. Yes, this is where you need to pay attention to this area. This area. Pay attention to this area. Look for a compressor if you are not a Cubase user. If you are not a Cubase user, look for a compressor that has a side chain or that has like filter, something like this, whereby when you compress, you are able to tell the compressor, I don't want you to compress this area of the compressor of the vocal. I don't want you to compress this area of the element. You should be familiar with this. Look for a compressor that has this filter. It's also called sidechain. Some compressor will have, say, filter as this, don't compress the low end. You know why? You want to compress the high end of the vocal because what triggers the threshold of every compressor is usually the low end, because the low end has a lot of, body, and it has a lot of, it's more like a slope this way. This is the low end, this is the high end. So before this high end would touch the compressor, the low end would have been too compressed. So what you want to use this guy to achieve, this section to achieve, is to tell the compressor not to compress the low end. This is a way for you to achieve a tighter vocal. Your vocal will not be scattered everywhere, even if it is very bright. You are trying to compress from the top, which is from the high end. That's where you're trying to compress from. So your compressor will be reacting like this instead of reacting with the low end. This is the low end. So by the time you filter out telling the compressor to compress just the high end, so your compressor will now be compressing this way. Do you get now? You will be compressing the high end as against the low end. So we filter out 900. So we don't want the compressor to react anything from 900. So that's why you see I'm activating the high pass. So we are compressing the frequency from 900 up to the end. We are not touching anything below 900 hertz. So that's why you're hearing it's very tight now.
I got in my house to I started finding bread.
So now the vocal is kind of very tight and kind of, you know, that what's it called? The high end is not kind of crunchy. Instead of being harsh, it's not crunchy. Now we move forward. Pause it and take this place again and listen to how I explained it again. The Q factor should remain like this. Don't touch the Q factor. Then the next thing is an exciter. Since we have compressed, we are going somewhere. Since we have compressed the entire song, since we have compressed the high end, now the high end and the low end is kind of okay, working together. Now we'll now bring an exciter. Look at what I'm using. Just little here. I'm not even using this one. Tube. Activated the tube section, the tube algorithm, and I'm using 0.8 dB of it. This section between 1.4K to 5K. Then my next section here was my next section here was I always use this guy. I always use, except I don't really need it, but I always use it. And this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to control again. This thing works almost synonymous to this compressor. A compressor that has this guy. So this one now, this dynamic compressor allows you to compress the high end on its own, the way you want it to compress it. It allows you to compress the mid range, and it allows you to compress the the low end. So it's left for you to know how you want to compress each individual frequency. Do you get? So you have the lows, you have the highs, and you have the mid. So you know how to compress individual crossovers, individual frequency. Now you know how you want to do them. So now, that is that 3 section. You can see what I did here. So manipulate it your own way, the way you want to compress it. Don't do it too much. Then now, this is a compressor. This is a telephone. You can use any compressor. Don't mind these guys. So what am I doing here? We are compressing about let's say about 3 dB from this guy. That's what we are compressing from this guy. And pay attention to what we did now. We are filtering out another we're telling the compressor not to compress. We're telling the compressor not to compress another frequency again. This is what this guy is doing. So this is the area. Look at it. About 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Just something like this. 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Then we compress. We push this. So that's why you see this. That is why you can see that this peak reduction, it's almost 80% before you can now compress, because I'm filtering out the low end. So that's why it is here. So if I bring this thing down now, you see that by 50 it would have been compressing, because the low end it will pick the threshold more than the high end. So yeah, that's that. Now this is a full compression. Now that we have been able to balance both the low and the high end, everything together, controlling everything, the vocal is consistent and well dotted. We don't have to do a full compression. Full compression. Now this thing is literally compressing everything. See, this one now is capturing both the lows, the mid, everything together. Now you don't be surprised they don't use a limiter on this one. The reason is because I can't teach it here. I want to do a full tutorial on how to use limiter because I've had a lot of comments about that. So in my next video, I'll be doing how to use different ways you can use limiter. So stick around. Now, we now used parallel compression. We have two parallel compression, two for the vocal alone, not excluding the reverb and the delays. So the first parallel compression we did was for the vocal, just to give it density more. I wanted that mid-range. Look at, as you can see, what did I do on this, my first parallel compression? Take a listen, take a look at what I did. See, I compressed the hell out of the low high mid because I didn't want it to interfere with this particular parallel compression that I'm doing. I wanted the mid-range to be powerful, more powerful. You can see my mid-range. Look at the graphical illustration here. You can see that my mid-range is so I'm letting my mid-range through as compared to the high end and the low end. So that's what I wanted. So that is for that. Then I'm doing like a full compression again. You can see full compression. So, and I feed it in by minus 9%, which is minus 9 dB. So I added another air again, another brightness to the vocal again. I added another brightness to the vocal again. Now I'm adding another air to it, another brightness to it with this parallel again. Now see what I did on this very box. I used exciter first. Now the exciter I'm using, I'm creating, you see, just the high end, and I press the solo just to cut this area off. To cut this entire area off. Let's see what it's doing. To cut this entire, I'm using the tube algorithm. So I soloed it. You see, I created this guy from about 6 to 7. Just when it's coming down, about 6. Yes, let's say 6. From 6K, I soloed it. When you solo it, it means it will just be this area that you hear. So I soloed it and I activated the oversampling. Now, the next thing I did was the tube in order for me to be able to really compress it. See now, I'm using this drive to kind of make that sound very dirty, which is, this is more like a saturator. I want it to sound very dirty. That's why I'm using this one. So you can use your ear and just play with it. Do you get? So as you can see, I'm using this area. From here. So fast attack, crunching the delay. See what we are having here. So it's really compressing it very hard to make it very crunchy. So as you can see, I'm using the ESA to control the harshness on that very parallel. See? So if I'm having a bit of spike, you can even use limiter if you want. If I'm having a bit of spike, this the ESA will turn it down. If I'm having a bit of spike, you know, since it's just merely that harshness, that brightness and the air. So, and we have to feed it in. So feed it in at about minus 10. Use your ear and have. See, it's very crispy and tight, so tight, so tight, so tight. So, and these parallel compressions now, it should be on, you can see the two, it should be on pre-fader, not post. It should be on pre. This is the pre. It should be on pre. See, it should be on pre, which is this blue, delay and reverb. So now let's activate our auto-tune. Everything we have. So, and boom.
No baby say make I calm down. I'm always shit it It's sure for me, it's sure for me. Say my house will go pay one day. It's sure for me, it's sure for me, yeah. It's sure for me. Say my house will go pay one day. It's sure for me.
So
I've
that's
been
for
through
that.
hell, I've been so down, I've been sober. I like PP,
So
like say
tell me if you have tried this and tell me how you feel about it. So that comment, message me how you feel about this very tutorial. It's going to help you. I know it's going to really help you. This is a very big secret. You don't need to destroy a vocal to make it bright. Comment your thought and let me see what I have done. Thank you. Gracious.